same thing and say, you know what, you want to run this back, you want to try this one again, we're going to maybe make it work for ourselves. But no, this time around, they are going to try and maybe hover back towards the Ahri. Very powerful on 12.4 right now and should be able to kind of deal with whatever Scout throws to FoFo in that mid lane.
Yeah, but there are picks like the Vex, which answer well in the laning phase. And also, when it comes to team fighting, you know, I feel like it's quite hard to play into the Zeri because she's so mobile. If you miss the charm, you're going to be in a rough spot. But I like that the Nautilus comes out, right? This is something we've seen between that and the Alistair, very often picked in the Zeri because of that point and click lockdown. Stuff for EDG, I feel like jungle pick wouldn't go amiss here. You could also take the support if you wanted something to match that Nautilus like the Leona. But you could just take the Vex, right? I feel like in terms of mid lane picks, Vex makes a lot of sense. Could even go towards that Twisted Fate against if you want that map pressure. I think there's a multitude of options is the pivotal thing here. They are going to go for this in Zhao, so wanting that early pressure that does help facilitate those front to backs. And we'll see what they end up going for here. Again, I think support would probably be the safest, but there's opportunity to take a strong mid or even something like the Gwen themselves. It looks like they might just go for that Leona. The standard LPL support matchup, right? Nautilus, Leona, we've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, we're always complaining, I suppose, about the Jinx of Helios. This time around, it is more about the Leona Nautilus, which has been tried and tested throughout many, many iterations. BLG, they have an opportunity here if they really wanted to pick up the Gwen for themselves, ban away some of those counters that could maybe go into it. But I imagine they want to try and secure their AD carry, which is most likely going to be the Jinx for Uzi, and keep him relevant in that bot side.
Yeah, Uzi on Jinx, I like it. I feel like, you know, there's also the potential to match what we saw before. And they're going to go for the Kaisa. So similar to what we saw in that game one, but on the opposite side, picking the Kaisa into the Zeri. You know, we've seen Kaisa flex to mid a fair bit. We saw Faker playing the LCK, but with the Ahri there, expected to be in the bot lane. Now, BLG, they can look to ban away mid laners. I think Vex would make a lot of sense. LeBlanc is also something that we've seen. The LeBlanc-Ahri matchup, a bit more about skill expression, but definitely opportunities to punish. And for EDG, I think you look at junglers, I think in this situation to trim down, but also you could have some issues with some top laners, maybe things like the Jace, maybe things like the Gwen. Now we're going to start off with that volley bear.
They're banning away some more of these very powerful picks. I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see the, I was going to say the Lee Sin, but he's already been banned away. Trying to think about other kind of high priority junglers. Maybe go with a Diana if you're really feeling it, but that would make you very
Hecarim,
AP heavy.
maybe.
Hecarim, yeah, but we have seen a lot of it, especially when the Xin Zhao's already been picked. The Hecarim has been very much subdued as the Vex does get banned away. So
Even
two big
Trundle,
answers here.
Trundle occasionally comes out as like that kind of matches the Xin Zhao early.
That's true, actually. I don't think the Trundle will be bad here either. I think, you know, you're very much looking at FoFo and Uzi kind of catching out your team, maybe just setting them up with the Nautilus. It depends on what you go for top side for BLG here.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, I wouldn't be against honestly them just throwing a ban to something like the Gwen. I think Jace would be risky. I mean, they're going to ban the Jace. I was going to say, I feel like Jace is risky because Breeze can just take the Gwen here and that main counter isn't available. There is still other picks you can take into though. We've seen Akali into Gwen. We've seen Kennen into Gwen. Both things that can handle her quite comfortably. Nara's been a bit of a neutralizer. So we'll see if BLG opt to go for that Gwen here or decide to leave things and just pick up the jungle and play it safe.
See now where they want to go for it. It's going to be the Hecarim locked in. Like we said, though, the Xin Zhao does have priority in those first few levels, so it's going to be all about where you can find these junglers in the first few levels of the game to maybe see where they can actually set themselves up. EDG going to try and round out their composition. Sylas was banned last time. Yeah, I was going to say something that has been kind of picked up by the side of LPL exclusively. No other region really playing this, and I really like this pickup here from EDG.
And there's the Gwen as well. Yep, so Jace banned. They're going to take the Gwen themselves. I think for Breathe, your options are kind of Kennen, Akali, or maybe just that Gnar, but I don't like Gnar here because of the Sylas. His ult is one of the best in the game to steal. And I love the Sylas pick here, right? Because not only is it a good matchup into Ahri, you go fantastic if you steal away her ultimate. Hecarim ult is also one of the best in the game to steal. You know, the Nautilus ult, fantastic as well. Just great options. They aren't going to go for that Kennen or the Akali, the things we see often picked up. They're going to go for the Graves. Is something that's going to have priority into the Gwen, just from his ability to just permanently shove. And for the most part, you can just scale up alongside her. If you do make a mistake, you can all in you, but for the most part, this is kind of just a top lane where we're expecting them to scale. But both teams have a lot of tools to be playing around with, right? We saw the Kaisa last game be pretty instrumental. Interested to see how Uzi pilots it into Viper if he also goes for that poke build. His composition definitely isn't as poke focused this time around. No Jace on the top side.
No, definitely not as poke focused. We will say, though, the Poke build is still strong in its own right. We mentioned how the upgraded W gets 70% ability, 77% of its cooldown. Yeah, 77% of its cooldown taken away from it. So even regardless of it being a poke comp, it still has a lot of value in it. And for the side of EDG, they're taking the Zeri this time around. They're saying, look, we want to be on top of your face, and everything about their composition very much emulates what EDG had last game, or BLG had last game, excuse me.
Yeah, I think the thing is, though, there's a lot of scrappiness. I think particularly EDG, if we get into those close range skirmishes, you know, they have a lot of tools to play around with. Gwen, Zhao in particular, very hard for these range carries to deal with. You have to basically be in melee range to hit them. And that's why I feel, right, despite the fact that, you know, you have the Zeri backline, the front to back is pretty solid for EDG. I'm looking at this Ahri and Hecarim to be a bit creative. If they can find these engages, find picks, there's definitely potential for that. We've seen this combination time and time before. Post 6, if someone is even marginally out of position, they are definitely a pick target to be capitalized on. But we'll see how things go on the early levels, and I think that's the thing. Zhao on the opposite side gonna have more agency than that Hecarim pre-6.
Yeah, I think completely agree, but we're going to see what they're able to do as we jump onto the Rift. EDG very much on a rocky standing right now, having a bit of a mare of a time, if I'm to be honest, with the most recent run of form. Have not been looking like the 2021 world champions, have lost to anyone's legend most recently. RNG was a loss. They lost to Top Esports V5. It's definitely been a bit of a rough patch for them, but they are going to try and maybe put themselves up into playoffs with a win here. One of these teams will be making it in, and we will go and have our 7 team in the playoffs with only 3 spots left, regardless of who comes out with the victory today.
Yeah, so a lot on the line. I think particularly, you know, BLG, I feel like they're on that point where they're really on the cusp, where it feels like they're, you know, for a long time they've been so close to sort of getting to the top echelon and contesting playoffs. It feels like they've been on the upper end of the middle of the pack. Definitely would go a long way if they're able to close this series out. But let's kind of take stock of what we expect from the early game. Zhao expected to have more pressure, and I think this mid jungle is going to be really important for WeiWei and the Hecarim. Probably just going to be looking to go for a full clear, right? Farm up on this Hecarim, perhaps cover your lanes when necessary, but I don't expect too much aggression to come out from the side of BLG, from the jungler at least.
They want to go. WeiWei kind of taking his combo. I like this route he's going for. We talked about how it's going to be very, very important to know where these junglers are going to be starting, and he's immediately taking away one camp on the top side, goes back down towards bottom. It does slow him down a little bit, but it's a Hecarim. He is a power farming jungler if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, the important thing is what he does is if you actually look at his position on the minimap, he's doing both the Grump and the Blue at the same time. It's something Hecarim can do with his AoE. It means that you do them really fast, and the reason it's important he passed straight towards them is the worst thing that can ever happen is you get invaded while doing this, because it gets you a little bit low. Both camps are quite low on health as well, so they can potentially be stolen. So I like that he's just going for that to have a pretty fast clear in the situation. We'll be able to deal with those and then continue his clear up to top side. Actually looks like he might even potentially look for something here.
Oh, I love this. I love this. It's not what you expect, and that's why it's so damn good. Meiko trying to run away, but he shall not be able to get himself out. They'll even flash forward onto Viper as he almost goes down. Still has his flash available. Crisp thinking about it, and he gets it. Not going to be able to get out with his own life, but that is a huge play there from BLG.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, Meiko was going down before WeiWei even turned up. He was pretty much dying to the ignite. Yes, the kill is picked up by the jungler, and I love the play. I love the confidence that they can go for that with the jungler there, but EDG's bot lane just getting caught out here, and we'll see the replay off that, right? Kind of feel like they're playing a little bit nervously there. They don't have vision, but look at Meiko's health. Before the Hecarim even gets there, basically dead. Uzi could have probably flashed forwards to finish it, but obviously holds a summoner. And then this play coming out from Crisp. Yes, it's not exactly an ideal trade, you know, a support gets a kill versus an AD carry, but the critical thing is you take Viper off the map, so he's going to end up missing out on some more farm and experience. It does look like because there was a slow push towards EDG, he isn't actually going to be denied much. But either way, I love the aggression. I didn't expect it. I was even saying, I don't expect to see much from WeiWei in the early game. He surprises me and EDG with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. Again, you talked about BLG, you looked at them throughout the entire split. They have been slow, methodical, very risk-averse right now in this series. And I think WeiWei has honestly been stepping up so much and really showing that he can be a big, big carry for this team, because you just don't expect that from the Hecarim whatsoever. But the creative pathing, knowing where the wards were, he's able to put himself into a nice foothold, and it just becomes a much harder game now for EDG. And Jiejie, yes, you're getting the invade off, but it's too little too late. The invade doesn't mean anything now.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been punishing if he was able to pick up the Raptors, the Red, the Krugs, force them away. Because FoFo turns up, he backs off. And so WeiWei doesn't even get punished for this, right? This is one of the things, if you go for some of these creative paths, if you skip some of your jungle to go for a gank, you can get punished, right? You can miss out a lot in terms of the camps cleared. WeiWei doesn't lose anything. So he's in a very, very comfortable position right now. And it's a good start coming out to the side of BLG. I wanted some momentum, particularly, you know, as much as I didn't expect it pre-6 too much from the Hecarim. Ahri, Hecarim are so much better when they're ahead, right? I feel like if they have momentum, they can be really powerful. And I think it's important against EDG's composition because, again, Zeri scales exceptionally, Gwen scales exceptionally, and Sylas, the old choices he has in this game mean he is going to be an absolute menace once he gets access.
And it is 2 kills, obviously, over to BLG. Obviously, traded back as well. But you can look at that bot lane. It is very difficult for them to really make anything happen. As I say that, they have got Ahri roaming down. That's going to be a flashless Meiko trying to just slow himself down. But the Glacial Augment does so much for this side, as BLG will get themselves another kill in this bot side. They are bullying out Viper and Meiko.
And we didn't see this. Well, I mean, okay, we definitely didn't see this in game 1 because we didn't get to see the first 10 minutes. But when we joined in, it was 1-1, no kills on the bot side. And this is kind of the thing. When you play Zeri, she can be punished in lane. And we've seen like the Tristana lanes. We've seen these lanes that just want to kill them. I love that despite it being the Kaisa here, the concept is still the same. They are just bullying out EDG's bot lane time and time again, looking for the all-ins. And it's what you want to do. You want to find that momentum. Out looking here, though. We'll steal away the Nautilus ult.
If he lands that chain, I feel like that's the moment for him to be able to go in. But does not find himself the hook, and therefore it is just going to be a dragon there for EDG. So they still have the early dragon pressure. We knew this coming into this. Very, very much got a strong skirmishing jungler for pre-6, so not really too surprised to see, despite all this bot lane pressure from BLG, that they're not able to hold on to that Drake.
Yeah, just finding a window. Obviously, resets coming in from BLG's bot lane. They take that opportunity. I don't think BLG care too much. To get the Nautilus ult thrown out mid won't really achieve too much other than just annoying FoFo. But I still think this game is kind of fine. I think one thing to note is Flandre in the top lane on this Gwen really having a whale of time in this matchup, right? I've seen scenarios where the Graves has managed to bully and have pressure on the Gwen a fair bit. But here, it's really Flandre where you're going for those short trades. You dash in with the fully stacked passive, get those 4-stack snip off, and then instantly walk away. And it just doesn't give the window for the Graves to trade with you.
Well, we're seeing more trading going on at this bot side as Meiko and Crisp find themselves going toe-to-toe, but Jiejie was off into the wings, so Uzi's sixth sense from all those years of playing has maybe tipped him off, but Crisp doesn't have quite the same amount of tuition as Jiejie actually takes a very unfortunate trade. Uzi's level 6. They could look to try and dive. They got the Onslaught of Shadows as well, but they decide against it in the end.
Yeah, I was thinking WeiWei's there because BLG kind of need to crash in, right? The wave's pushing away. They need cover in case Jiejie tries to gank. But, you know, Jiejie tries to gank. WeiWei isn't even there, and he just almost gets demolished in a 3v2, right? This Zhao really hasn't come to fruition yet. Hasn't been able to find too much success. And overall, it seems like wherever he turns up, he's been bullied out. WeiWei, the fact he's 1-0-1, has a farm lead despite the fact he went for that early gank and is now level 6 on the Hecarim. This has been a very comfortable early game for BLG. We're just going to look to see them continue that momentum. FoFo enabled with that ult, right? And I think you have so much opportunity. If you find pressure mid, you can just lean to the sides. But even so, you can look towards this Herald, right? A lot of team fighting tools in your favor. Jiejie is going there early to set up the vision. I don't think they'll commit to it yet.
For EDG, let's talk about how they... Oh, I'm going to stop myself very quickly. No, Viper's going to be fine. He gets himself over the wall. But for EDG, how do they come back into this? Because, again, they're not a million miles away, still under 1,000 gold in favor of BLG. But it does feel like the momentum, the proactive play, does feel like it's a bit more in BLG's favor. What do you want to see EDG do to try and make sure that they don't fall further and further into this hole?
Well, I think the critical thing is just being cautious about engaged on when there's numbers advantage for BLG. BLG are very good at finding, you know, with the Kaisa, with the Ahri, with the Hecarim. If you're out of position, it's accentuated massively. But I think when it comes to those structured 5v5s, EDG are pretty strong, right? They have a CS lead in the top lane for Flandre. The Gwen and the Zhao are very difficult to teamfight against because they have the Venn diagram of immunity. Scout's caught out, though.
Oh, Scout's gonna get breaking down here. Yeah, steals the onslaught of shadows, but the red smite alongside the ignite means there's nowhere for him to go. And this is again just BLG running over EDG in pretty much all lanes.
And that's kind of the problem in this situation, right? Is the fact that, again, you're slightly out of position. Hecarim could just fly over there. Ahri sets up a charm for a pick. And that's what EDG really need to avoid. I do feel confident if they get to the later stages without falling too far behind, their composition will start to shine. But for the time being, they are struggling, right? I think critically, you know, in those group 5v5s, they have such a strong front line with the immunity. They have the Zeri who can ramp in the longer team fights. It's kind of making the team fights go a bit longer, right? Avoiding those big engage tools at the start. But for the time being, it does feel like BLG are in control. 1.5k gold lead. Going to pick up the scuttle on the bot side. And WeiWei had a fantastic game so far, I will say, on this Hecarim. Really able to make things happen, despite the fact we often see Hecarims even punished in the early stage.
You still have Scout with that ultimate. Enable got a plethora of options available to him. One specific one that I am going to be looking at is going to be that Onslaught of Shadows. The AP scaling with that ultimate is pretty ridiculous. Can have a massive impact, but you got to land it. You got to be in a position to be able to utilize it as a minute or just under until Dragon spawns. It is going to be EDG trying to push themselves now into this pit. Meiko needs to be very careful of how he positions himself because they could end up going for a fight and not having any contest whatsoever.
I feel like so many abilities where the AP ratios on them is just like a massive help to Sylas and not really anyone else. Like a great example is Nah. His ultimate has 100% AP ratio. Nah doesn't care about that. Sylas loves it. It's the same with Hecarim. His ult.
What if he goes Nashor's Tooth, you know?
Well, then he's trolling, so... No. It's Hecarim as well. His ult has 100% AP ratio. This Hecarim isn't going to build AP, but when you pass it over to the other side, pretty painful. Similar thing with the Nautilus. So, as you said, a lot of value. But for the time being, let's hone in a little bit on this objective coming up. In 5 seconds, it is going to be that Drake. It's only seconds, so we don't often see teams tripping over themselves to get control of this. But we do see that BLG have a pretty good setup in the river when it comes to vision. And again, they have that pick potential. Oh, see, Breathe now has the Hull Breaker, by the way, which is something to mention. Definitely does make things a bit easier in that 1v1 matchup.
Yeah, you can see the little aura around the cannon minion. Makes it a lot harder, gives it extra magic resistance. But Jiejie is behind enemy lines. Has not been spotted out just yet. BLG will pick themselves up a dragon. EDG maybe look to try and force something up on this top side. The Zhao pick, such high priority, hasn't really done a whole lot. And now that he's been spotted out on the top side, it's just going to open up the map for BLG to kind of, you know, play whatever way they want to play.
Yeah, he's falling behind in farm, right? He's 1,100 gold behind. The kills definitely a factor in that share. But then BLG also pick up that dragon. It's going to be Infernal Soul, which is pretty scary when you're going up against the likes of a Kaisa. We already saw how disturbing that poke was last game. It's going to be more disturbing, right? But on top of that, I think it was just good setup from BLG, right? They know they have the strength in the mid jungle at the moment. They have a decent spread of vision across the river. No real contest to come in from BLG. And now they're looking potentially for Meiko here.
Now looking for him. WeiWei is in the vicinity. Uzi not going to land his W. They're going to get a flash for flash off the supports. And at the end of it, it's just an even trade. But again, BLG being the ones to be proactive, being the ones to try and make something work. EDG now saying, look, we know that the jungler's on the bot side of the map. We need to make something happen top.
Yeah, and if they can cash in for this Gwen, absolutely great. But Viper, oh no.
I've seen hooks like that lollipop into a hook once or twice, so would not have been surprised had it happened. But the Rift Herald does get its push, but it only gets the charge, so only 320 gold basically going over to shared between Flandre and Jiejie, so not really ideal usage of Shelly. And this is where the game starts to get a little bit, you know, more difficult for BLG, or sorry, for EDG, because you talked about how great it was for BLG if they keep getting ahead, and they are very much firmly ahead. Everfrost finished up, the Turbo Chem Tank as well. Like, there's not really a lot of options here for the side of EDG.
Kind of feels like a bit of a waiting game, right? The gold is definitely nice, but Flandre is really ahead, and as you said, they weren't able to translate that into anything more in terms of a full tower. FoFo does a combo on a Jiejie, and like he loses so much HP. This is a fear right now. I think BLG, this 3-man that we're looking at right now, FoFo, Crisp, and WeiWei are so threatening between them, just to be able to move around and find picks. And speaking of threatening, we saw how much pressure Flandre had this lane. Had the CS lead, had the pressure, and now the Hull Breakers changed that.
Oh, they have changed, and that's going to be the red buff steal as the Onslaught of Shadows is used by WeiWei to try and get himself away, but he just cannot escape just yet. Finally finds the Blast Cone as FoFo gets himself over the wall. The Charm lands to stop Scout from pushing onto Uzi, and they are going to get Crisp as a little bit of a response here as he hasn't gone down just yet.
Someone has to kill him.
I mean, he's waiting, and Viper will end up getting the kill. I think that was probably the worst person.
That was the plan. They give it over to Viper. EDG is so big brain. The problem with that play is you TP'd your top laner in. Breed has the Hull Breaker. I think you just lose top tower. And actually, mid tower pretty low as well. So you got to kill. You're losing quite a bit in return.
Yeah, you're losing 2 towers off the back of that. I think they gain 1 in the bot side. The Gwen should be able to try and do this or get this down pretty easily with Jiejie in tow. We now see WeiWei coming in. Will be dissuaded from his onslaught on top of the Gwen by the Zhao, and they all start their back away. So this is the now state of the game, just over a little under 2,000 gold in favor of BLG. They've got a dragon apiece, a minute 30 till that next one spawns, but Rift Herald on the table. We might see some engages and some fights coming up in the next few seconds.
Yeah, and I feel like BLG are in a really strong position. I think a big thing as well is them getting that mid lane tier 1. The traded towers on the side, kind of whatever. But the mid lane tier 1 means you can push in that deeper vision, right? If you think of towers as like a relative safe haven, EDG, it's a long distance between their last safe haven and that Herald. And now look, picks come in. Meiko isolated, does end up stopwatching to buy some time. FoFo looking for more. EDG feeling confident now with no Ariel available. They want to start this Herald, and I think BLG just end up backing off. So maybe not the best usage there from FoFo, but ultimately I think BLG is still happy because they have this Graves in the side lane, still applying so much pressure. Remember, he came out of the laning phase with the CS discrepancy. He now has a significant lead over Flandre.
Yeah, I mean, significant is putting in a very light way. Is then, you know, BLG know that their win condition is not fighting over these early objectives. There's only a dragon apiece, so it's not as if EDG are barreling towards the soul point either. They are happy to keep this Graves in the side lane, to keep winning on the lane that, you know, this Gwen can't really deal with.
No.
And that is just going to be a very, very simple kill there, going over to Jiejie, just walking forward way too far as we're going to see the needlework. Breed, though, gets himself over the wall and keeps himself alive. That Hull Breaker doing work, but now we might see them get on top of WeiWei as both junglers end up being taken out. It's going to be the Shield of Daybreak to finally pick it off as Uzi flies in, flashes over the wall, but that's a Flandre, that's a Gwen. Uzi, you got to be so careful. Does eventually take it off as now FoFo gets himself back with the Spirit Rushes. Viper turns back and says, I can do it just as well. He's got himself the Zeri as he's trying to figure out where this Graves is going. Eventually figures him out, but that's a smart move. Uzi is here. Viper trying to see if he can make this one work. He's trying to kite this one out, but he's basically 3v1. As here comes Scout. This fight shall never end as Uzi gets caught. And the MVP mid laner from Worlds 2021 steps up.
Very, very chaotic and messy fight, but ultimately, EDG pick up a spree of kills on the back of that. They can be super happy with how that one panned out. Uzi just streaming in, able to clean up a bunch, but not quite enough. And Scout, the pivotal member, he's looking for more.
Stop, EDG. I need to take a drink of water. My God. They will eventually back themselves away, but what a scrappy affair.
Yeah, and pivotally, they're able to pick up the second dragon, right? They also have a Herald in pocket, but we'll get a replay. So Breed, as you said, the Hull Breaker, he survives for such a long time here. So tanky. It looks like he's going to go down. The team kind of plays that peeling game. Things start to get scrappy for EDG, right? The ultimate not available for the Ahri or the Hecarim. And in these close range extended fights, this is where really we can see EDG flourish, right? We're able to see Viper ramp up on the Zeri. We're able to see similar things coming out from Flandre. And Uzi, despite being full HP when he jumps over after Flandre, nearly loses. We don't get time for the replays. More fighting.
No, Stolen Spirit Rush means that we are going to see Scout finally try and get on top of this BLG 3-0. Flash being burnt there by Chris means that he's not able to land the chain to catch him out, but that is going to be more advantages. And all of a sudden, the gears of this game are starting to turn back in favor of EDG. They are starting to figure out how to play this game, and it is starting to come back a little bit stronger for them. There's still a ways to go, but they are starting to look a little bit more positive, shall we say.
100%. And I think the thing we're saying about EDG, right, is that the Sylas really has such a great choice of ultimates when it comes to those team fights. We suddenly see Scout, since that double kill, really look to have a lot more agency, but also Viper and Flandre will scale up pretty exceptionally in this game. The Gwen in particular is such a pain point in the later stages. With that Zhao in unison, the front to backs, those scrappy skirmishes feel really nice, and it's kind of going to be on BLG. They had that momentum. They kind of lost a little bit of the wind in their sails. We need to see FoFo and WeiWei in particular looking for those picks, and EDG are the ones now setting things up with that Herald coming down mid.
Yeah, you're going to have the Herald available too. No Onslaught of Shadows here for WeiWei. It's going to be difficult for them to really go for a big engage. We will see Shelly get her head buff, and that brings that tower to... Not quite enough, but they will bring it down to just about enough to maybe make something work with them later in the stages. But you can actually see there, I saw W there coming in and hitting Viper. I thought it was going to do a lot more damage, but Uzi's actually gone no AP so far. Very much sticking to the tried and tested AD build so far this game, meaning he looks like he just want to try and take those 1v1s.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing in this game. You're not playing for the poke as much as the previous one. Yeah, Treader ults there. Yep. But the pivotal thing here is that Uzi, you know, it is going to be more about bursting out those targets, using the AD build to shred through EDG. BLG fishing here.
Still fishing, looking to try and make this one work. It's going to have a full 5v5 as we can see Crisp just gets deleted. The needlework doing as much as it needs to do. And honestly, without your support right now, EDG could turn and look to try and get this Baron. That's a lot of damage from the needlework as well onto Uzi.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? In these 5v5s, this is where EDG's composition shines. You can't find any headway, right? If anyone from BLG goes in, they are kind of lost to the void. The fact that you have the immunity coming out from this inside on the Gwen just to soak any damage coming over means very difficult for the ranged champions from BLG to really contribute, and they have to basically disengage. I said BLG need numbers advantage. It's still true. They end up committing to this, and just watch, right? Crisp goes in, and then what we end up seeing is the Zhao pops the ultimate, Gwen pops the W, and Breathe is just unable to do anything, right? Fires ult over the top, only hits Meiko, really, and the Rage carries can't find any headway. So EDG, you know, not the best early game, but they won that team fight, and now it feels like the comp is coming online. Viper, 5-2 on the Zeri, 2 items in pocket, is going to be super powerful.
Yep, 2 dragons apiece, gold basically dead even. Oh, sorry, 2 dragons to 1 in favor of EDG, and the sole point available to them in just under a minute's time. And EDG feeling confident right now. They should have all their summoners available for that. And important to note, Chris won't have his flash. That's going to be a big key engage, not available, as now EDG just keep pushing towards this bot side. Breathe is very, very big, but he needs to be so careful. I don't even know if he can defend this.
It's gonna be hard, honestly, but I think EDG need to be careful because the engage might come in if they stay too long. They won't get the tier 2 in the bot lane, right? They won't get that extra influx of gold, but they definitely set it up later. Now, TP coming in from Scout. Dragon in 30 seconds. This would be the 3rd for EDG. Would put them on soul point. Definitely those extra stats and the soul itself so valuable. So BLG, we'll have to see if they can try and contest this. And the critical thing for me is looking for picks. You have an Ahri. You want to find someone isolated. You want to blow them up. Problem is, it's kind of tricky, right? Because, you know, Leona, tanky, Flandre and Jiejie have immunities. Scout, kind of wily, and Viper is also quite mobile, so not really given much of a chance. And now EDG are the ones who control the area. They have vision. FoFo's on the top side with no TP, and this signals to me they're not even going to try and contest, right? They're going to push the wave and maybe move over to Baron, try and secure some vision there. The Dragon will be taken by EDG.
Yep, that's going to be the 3rd Drake of the game there for EDG. 4th overall as we kind of see them start to ramp up in this game. And it's coming down to similar to in game 1 where we saw the Zeri-Gwen combination just constantly pushing and prodding, and you have to either fully engage on it or just not interact with it whatsoever. Both very difficult things to do onto these champions. So right now EDG are bringing themselves back, and for BLG it is all about finding that sweet spot in a fight.
And now Uzi has picked up the Nash's Tooth, so it's kind of like, you know, how we saw the build before that was more heavily focused on like the AP aspect of it. There is still with this build the fact that Nash's gives 100 AP. You still get the AP upgrade. He's got the attack speed upgrade and the Q evolve. So all three of them available, a lot of close-up damage, and obviously his poke isn't as high, but still definitely relevant now. BLG are actually starting the Baron. They want to fight immediately, and they want to try and find a pick here. Look at Jiejie.
I mean, they're going to try and look for him. They don't land the dredge line, though, and the charm goes missing. A scout gets flashed upon. They're going to use a solar flare defensively on the side of EDG, but here comes the TP, and they've got themselves a little bit of a moment here. Viper and Flandre can do so much work on this backside. The needlework doesn't really do a lot. It's only really hitting one or two members. As we can see, there's the charm going a little bit wide, but I feel like on the side of EDG, you got what you wanted. You got everyone off the Baron, but you had to use a teleport.
Yeah, I will say they've been a teleport, so definitely there is that element to it for BLG, but it felt kind of desperate, right? The flash ult on a scout didn't really feel telegraphed. It just felt like, oh, you know, we're trying to turn, make something happen, go, and it didn't really come to fruition there. BLG are trying to start these fights. They want to try and get EDG to come into them, particularly areas where they have vision control, and that's when you find those picks, right? When FoFo's in a brush and you can get a charm off at the start, that's where things go in your favor. I feel like when everyone is in vision and it's like a straight up 5v5, they know already, despite the even gold, that's a bit of a struggle. Now, Scout, buddy.
I mean, he's playing with fire, and he's on a little bit of a bad situation, but Uzi gets jumped on. They kill him off straight away, so it's a trade of mid laner for the AD carry. Is now the real fight can ensue. Flandre is here to try and keep away Breathe as he TPs into the rest of this fight. It's a 1-for-1, but importantly for EDG, they keep their AD carry. BLG lost theirs.
I love how BLG are like, yes, we have TP advantage, and then 2 minutes later, no, we've lost the TP advantage. Oh, they're looking for WeiWei.
I mean, WeiWei might be going WeiWei if he's not too careful. He needs to keep himself healthy, will canter himself away, but EDG are just feeling more confident, and honestly, they could start up this dragon. Again, like I said, they have their AD carry.
Yeah, they have so much damage on this, right? Between Flandre and Viper, WeiWei has to go back to base to reset, doesn't have the ult to even get in the pit, so he's just not going to be here in time. BLG need to fight this without him.
Here we go. Breed's got to go in. He does not have his collateral damage, so it's not real chance of him getting a steal. As you get the hook in, there's going to be the ultimate from Viper as he's trying to free hit on the backside of this. As Nautilus is just down and dead. FoFo and Breed stay alive. As here comes Scout, though, to steal away the Spirit Rush. They even had the needlework just in case, and that's Baron for EDG.
Yeah, beautiful window found by EDG and the confidence to go for the play. One thing to notice from that is that Jiejie actually went back in the pit, even though the fight had started, because he wants to make sure the Baron didn't be aggro. And again, because it's this Hecarim, no ult, no way to get over the wall. But we'll get a replay, and Scout, you know, they try to engage on him, and he's like, I am killing Uzi. Steals the Hecarim ult, uses it to dodge any CC, and then Uzi basically just gets 100-0 by him. Yes, they kill Scout. The AD carry gone as a result, even with the attempts from BLG to peel.
It's just feeling like a series of whoever gets Zeri and Gwen has just such a bigger advantage to try and work with. They have so many more avenues to make this team fight work, or even, you know, go on the side lanes. Just so many ways that you can do it. And twice now we're seeing the Kaisa, and twice it's been okay. Like in the game 1, it felt a lot more powerful than in game 2, but it just feels like it's just not enough of a counter.
The problem is, right, in the previous game, there was so much poke coming out from EDG, right, between the Jace and the Kaisa. And although, you know, we're seeing a decent amount of AP from Uzi, he hasn't fully gone for this poke build. It's kind of like a hybrid. There just isn't enough poke from BLG. And the problem is, when you start the fights, they can't do damage for like 5 or 10 seconds because of the power of Jiejie and Flandre just being immune, right? It makes it so difficult to actually win those fights. And you see by this point that the sort of immunities pass away. Viper started to ramp, Flandre started to ramp. It's very difficult to approach. And now, EDG looking.
Yeah, they're going to drop down the stolen dredge line onto FoFo, but FoFo uses a Spirit Rush to get away. So it's an ult for an ult, and the Sylas will have his up far quicker, as we do see Breed and Flandre maybe looking to try and fight each other now. Wind Becomes Lightning does connect and just put down a little bit of a slow onto Breed. As you can see, just the Zeri getting those constant W's off, making so much of a nuisance of themselves. Meiko gets caught, though, and the Onslaught of Shadows disrupts everything. WeiWei is traded, and you can see the power, though, with this Gwen and Zeri. You just cannot fight this. As I say that, it's a double kill for Breed. It's a 2-for-2 trade, as now both teams are left with 3 men standing.
Yeah, no jungler here, so it becomes a bit of a flip, but Viper's still looking.
Viper is still looking. Uzi trying to make this one work. They do get down the Sylas as Flandre is immune. Viper goes forward and picks up the kill. It's going to be almost another one there as FoFo gets out with the skin of his teeth. But Viper not to be outdone just yet. Not quite finding himself the snipe, and that's going to be Soul here for EDG.
And only just now you can see on the right of your screen, FoFo's ultimate just ticked over and became available. That whole fight without it made such a critical difference. Scout with a great heads-up play to burn FoFo's ult before the fight. Really reduced the fighting potential of BLG. And then those extended fights. That's the problem, right? In the short fights, you can't do much because they have the Venn diagram of immunity, right? And in the long fights, they have Gwen, Zeri that are so strong. Like, Meiko gets caught out here. And despite the man advantage, we see WeiWei dive in, but no damage can really come out from the rest of the team because, again, that immunity. And then we see Flandre's ramped up, Viper's ramped up. They start chasing down, and there's just not enough gas in the tank from BLG. FoFo playing on the sides, trying to find these charms, but without that extra mobility, so subdued.
Such a close fight. The charm stopping him dead in his tracks. That could have been a clean ace had he been able to catch it. But I mean, we didn't get to talk about it today because we had to go straight. We didn't get to set up the stakes or who we'll be looking at. But just so everyone knows, we talked about in our pre-game that we were going to have about Uzi versus Viper. It is the 2018 MSI champion, considered to be one of the greatest AD carries to play the game, going up against the side of EDG, and we're going to see now BLG looking to try and re-engage on this fight. Meiko gets caught out, and that's 2 quick kills. Viper might be in a little bit of trouble. He goes gold, and the charm should be up in just a second. They don't even need it, and out of nowhere, BLG strike back.
Yeah, Infernal Soul in pocket for EDG, right? Such a power spike, and I think that got to their heads a little bit. Massive overstep there from them, diving the towers, and Scout and Flandre weren't even there. I'm not sure what the game plan was, but overzealous, and as a result, BLG still very much in this game, and that's where they flourish, right? When they have the numbers advantage, when they don't have to deal with as many threats, they have that great engage potential. Speaking of engage, WeiWei's going. I'm not sure you want to find it, but he's looking
for it. He's looking for it. Breathe will have a TP as well, should they want to go for it. Yep, they're going to try and fully burn down this Gwen. Flandre trying to see if he can get the back off, but not even going to try and use his TP. He knows he's dead. There's 4 people here. They found the odd-numbered skirmish, exactly like you said, and that's going to be...
Oh, my lord. Oh.
That's a bloodthirster. That is a bloodthirster. Immortal Shield Bow Graves that almost died.
What is this champion, man? It's so insane. Well, oh man, I can complain about Gwen a little bit later, but we got to see the play coming out from EDG, and I feel like, again, just a little bit overzealous. They go for this wave in the tier 2. They see Breathe. Remember, this is a Hullbreaker Graves isolate. He is very tanky. So much committed to try and take him down. The shield bow comes in, and then it's just easy for BLG to jump back. And that's the thing we kind of talked about, right? BLG have the strength of being able to join fights from at a much quicker rate than the opponents, because they have like the Hecarim, the Ahri, the Kaisa can just swarm in really fast. And now we return to the live game, right? It's a 700 gold lead for EDG. The Infernal Soul makes a big difference. I definitely agree with that, but things still feel pretty even. But it comes down to execution. Can BLG find those big charms, find those picks?
That was looking.
EDG actually looking.
Yeah, we're going to see if they can go for that one there. Does steal away the dredge line, so that's a good, big, guaranteed point-and-click ultimate available now to the side of EDG. Bot lane, we did see in the picture-in-picture, Breathe was able to get himself pushed up, picked up that tier 2, and with Baron spawning, they are able to force themselves now all the way into this side of the jungle. I will say for the side of Uzi, he's finally got himself indexed very heavily now into that AP Kaisa build, going towards that Nash's Tooth, and of course the Luden's Tempest puts in a lot of damage. And to say that the hook has landed, they're going to get the Zonyas out of Scout immediately. Chris may have gone just a little bit too far. Breathe gets caught by the Solar Flares. Flandre finally joins the fray. He's going to have Gwen snip, snip, snip. Breathe forced to flash away to try and get his own breath back into this fight, but it is still EDG in control.
They're looking for more. They don't think that just the support is enough to guarantee a win in this dragon fight, but unable to find anything, they will move back towards it. No ult from FoFo is significant, but WeiWei still has his to get in the pit.
And Meiko trying to see if he can maybe dissuade the big old pony as they're going to try and maybe make this fight work. Uzi's going to get hit up by the stolen ultimate, and the dredge line goes in, and Scout assassinates him, and snip, snip, snip. This is all Gwen all the time. Triple kill for Flandre, and this game's looking like it's going to be going to a game 3 because this series is going to 1-1.
And Scout again finds Uzi in that fight. EDG bouncing back after the game 1. The composition works in those tight 5v5s, and they make it happen. They're going to push to the end, and Crisp, yeah, no chance here, buddy.
No chance whatsoever. I'm going to snowball's chance in hell. We will get a game 3 of this best of 3. The day is going the distance, full 6 games, and this game is already starting to be a cracker.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, there was definitely moments, you know, we saw the early game from WeiWei,